And I'm live, but no camera. Interesting. I'm here. Hang on. You go to plan B. This is kind of sitting and that looks better. There we go. Now we got a camera. Hey. Awesome. Obviously we need the little. She just set me up in the office on a couple of screens. Wow, that's too many screens. I've got these three of me. I'm looking at three of me at the moment. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Okay, never mind. All right, here we are. I will. I'm going to look at this camera. Modern technology. Yeah, what a lot of fun. Okay, what's happening, guys? Orlando Pockets, welcome to the room. Chris Freemesser, welcome on. Chancellor Kiwi, President Kiwi. You guys are crazy. March Force One. Orlando Pockets, he's getting his three fingers at the moment. You are 100%. Although, yeah, that's about three fingers. Yeah, I've been working on an oily old Mustang today. You can tell, can't you? Yeah, cheers. Cheers, guys. What else? Orlando, Biggle Bob's in the room. Welcome along, bud. Good to have you here. Buddy Caro fan. Jeff Hutchins. Oh, there's lots of you guys here. Yeah, lots of you guys here. So, Paul Funk, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you, man. That'd be great if you guys can. Chris Freemesser, you're not looking at three screens. You had too much bourbon. No, trust me, I'm looking at three screens. But yeah, it's a little confusing. I don't even know how. There's two behind this one that I'm looking at, but they don't have cameras. And she forgot to explain that one to me, so we had no visual until I flipped the laptop open. Only if the laptop is open. Yeah, I figured that one out, though. Anyway, back to business. What's going on? Orlando Pockets closer to 4. Well, it depends on how fat your fingers are, really, doesn't it? Or skinny. That's my story. Roy Miller, welcome along. So, what's been going on, fellas? What's new? What have you all been working on? I've been working on the Alpine, as you may have seen in yesterday's video. So I've been keeping busy on that. This morning, took Marge's hopefully replacement cylinder head for the rather goosed one that was on it. So we took two heads up off a 58 poly that I picked up a long time ago, which was another video way back when. Out of another, I think it was a 57 or 8 Plymouth, 58 Plymouth wagon. I scored a spare poly out of that, so we yanked the heads off that, dropped them up at the machine shop, dropped the 5.0 short block up at the machine shop as well. So we kind of hurriedly stripped that down to nothing, yesterday afternoon, and got that up there this morning. They measured it quickly. It's a standard bore, which is cool. It was a reman Ford motor. It was date stamped 99. It was a 98 Ford, and it had a reman motor in it in 99 from Ford. So, yeah, for what that's worth. But yeah, very, very little wear in the bores, and it's standard, so there's plenty of meat to bore it over 30. Because I'd heard that a lot of the Ford reman ones were like 30 or 40 over already, but that was not the case on the one I picked up. So I was kind of happy to hear that. Yeah, so that's up there, and we've kind of come up with what we need as far as the stroker kit goes. So we're getting a scat stroker kit for that engine, 331, which is 30 over, and the 3 1/4 stroke. So, and yeah, we're comfortably over the 400 horsepower mark is the prediction, comfortably over. Now that is with some AFR heads. which, there's a couple of grand. But, you got to pay to play, don't you? So, yeah. Now, Beagle Bob got to factor in the ice. Well, that's true, mate. That's true. It does displace a bit of bourbon and does mix with it over a 2-hour period. Tavo, what's new? Grandson number 2 hatched 15 hours ago. Congratulations, Tavo. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well done. Another little Australian. The whole world needs a few more Australians. That's what all us Kiwis say. At least ones like you, buddy. Now, Beagle Bob, I painted and installed new fenders on my Camaro. Got the doors straightened out enough to open and close nicely, and got the mirror glued on. All went pretty smoothly. Nice. That's a good little bit of work over the weekend. Well done. Josh Homan, welcome along. Good to be here. Skipping out on the State of the Union for the State of the Union. Well, I think we know what the State of the Union is right now. But yeah, I appreciate you bowing out of that to come here and spend time with us all. So that's very cool. Beagle Bob was switching to a limited slip diff in my 150, broke a shim on install. So that's on hold for a few days. Bugger. Chris Freemeser. Congrats, Grandpa Tavo. Yeah, I haven't. I'm not. My kids are mid-20s, so yeah, that may not be in a too distant future. Might be too distant future. Who knows? Josh Homan, I guess my recovery from being a political junkie is more thorough than I suspected. There you go. Hey, Mexican Spec. Hey, welcome along, bud. How you doing? Brother, how's it? What's the word down in Mexico? It sounds, the little bits I've caught on the news, it's interesting, to say the least. Like, wow. Look after yourself, mate. Is kind of really, I guess, where I'm going with that is hope you and yours are all good and okay, and it's not impacting you too much. So yeah, hopefully it will settle down, if that's a thing. I don't pay a lot of attention to the news really, because I don't believe a lot of it. So yeah, I was kind of hoping you'd drop in tonight, Mexican Speak, and maybe tell us just in a sentence or two kind of what's going on, or you're okay, or whatever. Yeah. Tavo, yep, we do need to start breeding more, importing fewer, mate. That's the truth. Yeah. Charles Dalton, hi everyone, hi Kiwi. Sorry I'm late, mate. You're not very late. It's only 8 minutes past, so you're good. You're excused. Matt's Rat 5006 Canadian here. We love Kiwis and Aussies. There you go. What's not to love? I mean, really, right, Tavo? Josh Homan, good evening to one and all. Welcome along, Charles Dalton. Mexican Spec. As I thought, things are calming down now. I've been talking to people at the epicenter of the nastiness. Yeah, it's one thing watching a little bit of that drug cartel kind of fictional carry on some TV shows, but being right there close to it is, I imagine, very, very different. Nowhere near as entertaining. Craig Tillius, hello, Mr. Kiwi, love your videos. Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's comments like that keep me making them, honestly. So yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Mexican Spec Kiwi, they did some bad stuff, but it's calming now. It's not near us, but it is where I go to buy cars. Ooh, okay. So no imminent purchases this week then, I guess. Wow. Crazy stuff. The world's a crazy place. Chris Freemeser, no issues for junior Spec. Getting to school, I hope. Yeah, well, now we're asking about, now Mexican spec, isn't one of your boys studying to be a doctor? Hopefully, yeah, he's away from all that carry on as well. Beagle Bob, I got some fabric and foam today to redo the seats for my Mustang. Wow, aren't you a little man of many talents? You're actually gonna are you like pre-made covers or and foam, or I'm gonna take a guess and say you're not stitching your own. But hey, let me know. Mexican spec. Chris Freemy said no, nothing from them is in his city. A few things happened to our south, but he is okay, as he can be where he is. As okay as he can be where he is. Okay, well that's good, man. That's good. As Driveways Misfit says, hope it stays that way. Indeed, yes, yes. Orlando Pockets, have you done any planning prep for how the centre of gravity will come out with the Alpine? Are you just going to stuff the engine in and call it good? Well, essentially, yeah. We don't have that many options as to where it goes. So planning. I mean, for how the center of gravity will come out. No, it's kind of just going to have to be where it is. It's going to be a lot better than the original Tiger. The V8 version of the Alpine, because the engine. The car's going to be lower, so consequently the engine will be lower. And as far as front to back weight balance, that should be a huge improvement. We're going to be in that region of 5 inches further back behind, well, not behind, but instead of being over the front axle, half over, sort of half, some of the engine forward of the front axle line, there's going to be all of the engine's going to be behind the axle line. Well, excluding like the front drive and water pumps, stuff like that. But the front of from sort of the timing chain back is going to be behind the front axle line. So which is kind of a little more. It's kind of how the Corvettes were a little bit like that. They were, the engine was a long way back in relation to the front wheels. So we're going to be a little bit more like that. So, but no, it's not the kind of build where, you choose an ideal spot for the engine and then build the car around it. We don't have that kind of luxury. It's even with the stretch, it's still a small engine bay, and in a small wheelbase, with the stretch, it's still a short car. So yeah, it's the cards are going to fall where they fall. Cards being the engine. Mexican spec. It was basically a tantrum against the government. Wow. Okay. Mexican spec. Yes, I only have one. He's in his 3rd year of medical school and still doing very well. That's awesome, man. Mine's in the 2nd year. So, yeah, it's good. Good stuff. Match rat. Yeah, drag strip Alpine. It'll probably see the drag strip once, unless Mrs. K gets a taste for it. But yeah, we'll definitely run it down there and see what it's going to do. I mean, it's all going to be about traction. With a light car and plenty of horsepower, it'll all be about how the rear suspension works, and even what the rear suspension is going to be, which is still to be determined. So yeah, but honestly, what I want it to be is more competent in the corners, the drag racing. It's going to be definitely interesting to see what it'll do, but it's not being built with drag racing as the primary target. It's all about stopping and cornering and drive off the corners, not off the start line. So Beagle Bob, I've got the seats fully dismantled to the frame, going to use the original fabric as a template. If it goes well, I will look at starting professionally. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Have you done upholstery stuff before, Beagle? I can't remember whether we talked about that or not when you visited, but mate, I tell you what, if you take to it and you're interested in hot rod interiors, Yeah, there's a real shortage of good custom upholstery guys. Like, it's hard finding body guys, but not as hard as upholstery guys. Craig Tillius, I watch all your videos and such great personality and love for your cars and customers' cars. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Does Tony ever stop by anymore? No, mate, he doesn't. That came to an unfortunate kind of end, but hey, Jean Turner, like the Sunbeam, Tony. Oh, you like the Sunbeam? Okay. Cool. Orlando Pockets, thanks. I was just curious if he had thought about it. Yeah, I wouldn't say I haven't thought about it, but it's not, say, yeah, I'm just repeating myself. I guess it's just, it is, for the most part, it just is what it is. Mrs. K's lighting up my phone. Oh, she's in New Zealand at the moment, hanging with her dad, who's turned 80 today. So she flew back to New Zealand to kind of celebrate his birthday, and then she's just tormenting me with pictures like this. That is, if there's any Kiwis on board, they'll know exactly what that is. That is a like an ice block or an ice cream treat, whatever you want to call it here. Yeah, look at those fingernails, they're terrible. But those are yummy. They're a famous, iconic Kiwi ice cream. So yeah, she's just making me feel jealous. Now, Barry Cooter, hey, welcome along, mate. Good to have you here. Orlando Pockets, oh heck, we need an Alpine quarter mile time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'll be part of the learning curve for her. Is doing that and doing a little bit of roundy stuff in it. Match track, build it to get traction. Well, I mean, certainly I'll be trying. Like, you can't have a competent kind of road course car if it doesn't have traction, because you'll just be oversteering everywhere. So certainly I'll be working on getting as much traction as it possibly can. Paul Funk, was the 67 Marlin ever purchased? Yes, it was. Todd Deniers has that car in his possession now. I haven't heard from Todd for a couple of weeks, actually. I'm hoping he's okay. I know he's not been all that well, so I do need to reach out to him and just check to see what's going on with him. Tavo, only here for a while today, have another appointment, then off to the big city to meet number two. Okay, who's number two? To meet number two. Okay, not sure what you mean, Tavo. Andy Nickel, welcome along. Good evening. Charles Dalton, the longer wheelbase will definitely help the quarter mile time. I can only imagine how good the handling will be with the added width, lowered suspension, and added rigidity. Yeah, I mean, the proof's in the testing, isn't it? But on paper, it should be a big improvement over a regular Alpine. Yeah, which, to be fair, they didn't set the bar very high back in the 60s with the Alpine. It wasn't. I mean, it was a reasonably agile little car because it was little and light, but it wasn't a handling package, really. Charles Dalton's got a handle better than an MG. Well, an MG is simply a Morris Oxford, without the roof, really. Good looking little cars, the MGs, but yeah. Based off a production saloon, which, the Alpine was the same, based on a production saloon. So they weren't, they weren't like a Ferrari or something like that, which were built, with a very different mindset. This was an English little sports car, the MGs and the Alpines and the little Sunbeams and the ACs and stuff like that. They were built as a cheap little fun toy car, really. So yeah, all right. Biggle Bob, never done it before, but I picked things up pretty quickly. Good to know there is demand. Oh, there's definitely a demand, mate. That's something that if I hadn't gone down the bodywork and fabrication road, the auto upholstery always appealed, and I've done little bits of it, and yeah, I see no reason why you couldn't learn how to do it. I really don't. With being self-taught will make it a little tougher, but good old YouTube. There's a million videos about everything on there, so let YouTube be your instructor, and good sewing machine and a bit of creativity and a bit of patience, and you should be good. But you've just got to be able to make stuff, because custom upholstery is about starting with a blank piece of paper and creating something from nothing. I'm sure you don't want to be recovering seats in a 2005 Camry. That would be like fate worse than death. But but some hot rod stuff, that'd be cool. I would enjoy doing that. Mexican Spare, Chris Freeman said, did you take the LeBaron out for a drive? There you go. Good question. Actually, I don't think he was. I think he's put that to one side, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for a little while. Oh, Tavo, grandson number 2. Duh. That was a bit slow of me, wasn't it? Yeah, of course, number 2. Tavo, I paid $2,500 for Repro seat coverings for the Pacer replica. Wow. The only good news is they now sell for $3,500. Good Lord, for seat coverings. Why so pricey? Wow, that seems, even in Aussie, for Aussie stuff, Aussie dollars, that seems high. Chris Freeman, so the infamous jelly tip. Yeah, have you heard of jelly tips, Chris? That's wild if you have. Chris Freeman said, no, still need the LeBaron, still needs work before it hits the road. Yeah, I remember you saying you were struggling to get it registered or inspected or something, weren't you? Phil Dodge Fury, hi all. I like your bourbon blues singing voice, Kiwi. Yeah, if only it was mine, mate. That sure as heck wasn't me singing. You don't want to hear that. Yeah, all my talents are channeled into one very small area, just on cars. Beyond that, I'm a fairly talent-free zone, really. That musical, that little fill in on that on that sped up part, that time lapse stuff is an AI created thing, and I actually just lifted the soundtrack from that AI intro that I put up a couple of months back, and everyone hated it. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people hated it and were quite indignant about me having an AI created intro. So I canned that because it was like, wow, okay. The masses have spoken, so I ditched it, but I pulled the soundtrack out of it and just used that to fill in the no sound part of that time lapse photography. But I think it's a cool track, and like AI created the lyrics and everything. It's crazy what AI is doing now. Michael Pagliarini. I had trouble with this last week. Michael Pagliarini. Evening all from 38 inches of snow in Rhode Island. Oh my God, 38 inches. Wow, that's crazy. Mopar Man, good evening, sir. Good to have you here. Okay, Zolly's Auto Clinic. Have you, at least asking Mexican speak, have you ever happened upon an 88 to 98 Chevy truck with a 3 TBI injection in line 6? Wow. He has, of course, he has. The first time I saw one, I was shocked the engine wasn't used in the US. Huh? No, I hadn't heard of that. Craig Tillius, yeah. Are there any other plans coming up for the Marge wagon? Just waiting on motor or waiting on pistons for the motor. I've ordered some because we've got to have custom pistons because we're using. They didn't build. They don't build a stroker kit for the poly. They build it for the LA 318. So we use the LA crank and rods, but we can't use the LA pistons because of the valve pockets are in the wrong place. So you got to get custom pistons, mate. So it's kind of, and we're trying to find another head. Well, I've got two more heads. One of Marge's heads was badly cracked. And two big cracks right across both valve seats and into the in the combustion chamber and down into the ports. So that was pretty much toast, that cylinder head. It is fixable, but it's a big fix, and will it work? That's a lot of stitching when the two major cracks are about half an inch apart. So yeah, that's certainly no guarantees on that one. So yeah, I've got two spare heads. So I was saying at the beginning of the show that I just dropped them up this morning. So they're going to go through and check them. Hopefully one of them is good. And then we get the bigger valves for it and a little bit of porting. And yeah, kind of heading for that 400-ish odd horsepower, hopefully, with twin 4 barrels. And yeah. So that's the plan for Marge. And as time permits, or, I get, I'm kind of pushing hard on the Alpine at the moment. And along with that comes a certain amount of burnout. So it's nice to have, like when I've kind of just had enough of the Alpine and need a little break from it, I can jump over onto Marge, get a bit more bodywork done. I did start repairing the spare wheel cover. I don't know how many of you would be familiar with this, but the spare wheel, like you actually take a big section about, how would it be? Probably 28 inches long, like a section of the rear quarter comes out like a wheel skirt, like a rear wheel skirt. It's kind of like behind the rear wheel, but it's like this little skirt which is part of the rear quarter releases and comes out, and you get your spare wheel out there. Well, that was rotten, like really rusty, because it's a little water trap there, and it has an inner and outer skin that are about half an inch apart. It's quite thin, so doesn't take much to fill it up with dirt and water. So it was rotten. So I've got that mostly fixed, which I've kind of just been doing little bits of videos of that handcrafting, because I've had to kind of skin the lower half of it and the outer and the inner, like the whole bottom half of it was just toast, really. So been working on that, but that video will come as I just do the finishing of it and test fit that. So now Mexican spec, that engine came in the 1500 trucks. 1500 meant 6-cylinder, 2.5 meant V8. Okay, they are the more basic trucks. There you go. Yeah, quite different to the American spec, isn't it? Zolly's Auto. That's interesting questions. What are you up to, Zolly's? Are you doing one, eh? Well, it sounds like it. Did you happen to see how they had the distributor set up? I'm going to have a hard time setting up an HEI coil cap distributor with the TBI. Just lack of room. It's going to interfere with each other. Interesting stuff. Hang on a minute. Now, Chris Freeman, I suspect that with the increasing scarcity of good mechanics, bodymen and upholsterers, we're all better become at least marginally proficient at each skill. There's not a lot of new ones coming on board. No, that's a problem, and it's going to continue to get worse. David Tyree, hey, welcome along, man. A friend, cousin-in-law does body paint and upholstery. He's currently restoring a 34 Auburn. Well, that's a pretty cool car. Paul Funk, my buddy does custom upholstery, and every car he works on is usually trailered to his shop, and he's about to retire. Yeah, yep, yeah. It's a thing. Andy Nichols, so the vinyl top of my Sebring has torn apart on both sides about 6 inches. I have some Tortex for recovering. Tortex? I don't even know what that is, mate. For recovering a guitar case. I'm wondering about adhesive for cold weather. Any ideas? The only thing I will use is Landau Top glue. Who makes it now? They make quite a lot of different glues. But yeah, it's called Landau Top adhesive. And it's for doing like upholstery, vinyl roofs, that kind of thing. Pretty flexible. The cold I wouldn't think would hurt it. But yeah, is it DAP? D-A-P? Trying to remember the name of the brand name of it. It's but yeah, if you like Google on Amazon or eBay, Landau Top adhesive, like Landau. And yeah, that's what you need. And you'll need a spray gun suitable for with a huge tip, suitable for spraying. And it's a siphon gun too. It's not the cups under the gun. So they're only cheap guns. They're not high tech guns. They're like the last one I bought was about $60, I think. So, but you get one of those guns and that glue. Whatever you do, don't use aerosol contact adhesive. 3M make an aerosol trim adhesive, and they make an aerosol heavy duty one. Do not use them. Don't use them. They won't hold. Whatever they do to the glue to make it thin enough to come out of an aerosol can kills it. It doesn't stick. Not long term anyway. Jeff Hutchins, I thought about putting a 4.3 TBI or an 80 short wheelbase 250 straight 6 forward drive 4-speed square body I had. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Even got the bottom plate of the TBI to fab up an adapter. Sold the truck instead. There you go. Best laid plans. Chris Freemester, the 85 LeBaron finally got registered last week after 6 months of paperwork hell. Golly. But the car still needs work before I can drive it. That happens in the spring. There you go. When it warms up a little bit, not so much ice on the ground. Stephen Bunkybird, welcome along. How are you, Kiwi? I'm good, mate. Any better, I'd be dangerous. Gene Turner, could you just change the frame on the rusty vet? Yes, you could. That would be the best thing for that rusty Corvette, would be to ditch that frame and just switch to live chat and we'll get everybody. Ditch that rusty frame because it's all the suspension's rusty in it, all the components in that, and all the underpinnings of that car is all bad. So yeah. Hang on. There we go. Just finding my space again. Solly's Auto Clinic. Sadly, I haven't had much luck with that. I only get shown the typical V8. I'd like to find someone who owns one to get part numbers and such. Yeah, that'd make it easy, wouldn't it? Jeff Hutchins sold it right before the square body prices went nuts. I have a knack for that. Yeah, you're not the only one though, mate. You're not the only one. Sergeant Mustang, good evening. Good evening, sir. After seeing your Corvette rust video, it definitely makes me more concerned about my 61 Chrysler. Front subframe is good, but it quickly gets rusty from their back. Yeah, Yeah, it's a problem. If you're anywhere near salt, yeah, I mean that Corvette got progressively worse as you got. It was bad up the very front as well, but it definitely got worse on the way back. Tavo just found out the brown snakes are still living under my house. Nice. Encountered a 6-inch baby. It bolted straight under the back wall. Good Lord. Um, are they brown snake? Are they poisonous? Are they probably, being Australia, probably is poisonous. You got lots of poisonous stuff there. Tavo sounds like you need a mongoose. Where's he going to find one of them in Australia? They probably have them over there. They certainly have ferrets and stoats, I think. Sergeant Mustang, even if I can't get the rust repair done immediately, is any reason not to rent a sandblaster or something and get rid of all the rust I can find now, or wait until you take it to a body guy you like? Sandblasting, like, is good. It gets rid of the rust, but it's very aggressive. You'll tear some shit up. Like, you really, yeah, before you go near it with a sand, like, it's got to be pretty well stripped, because the sand gets everywhere and eats up anything in its path. Sandblasting is something you want to do when you're doing the whole rebuild. I would, honestly, as a short-term measure, I'd be tempted to use something to thin down just old engine oil, and just drown the bottom of it in something oily to keep, and that will drive the moisture out. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on rust-proofing compounds, because you're just going to blast it all. Rust-proofing compounds are good, but if you're gonna kind of really do it thoroughly, I'd be tempted just to do what some of the old timers used to do and just mix up. I think they used like engine oil and diesel, or engine oil and some other solvent-based type, reducer or thinner, and just sprayed that. And they would do that in the salt areas, like before winter, like every year they just drown it, just let it, the excess drip off and head on down the road, and the salt didn't really penetrate the oil. And used engine oil, it's pretty cheap. Barracuda, I squeal when an upholsterer gives me a quote. Always outrageous. It's okay for me to make people squeal with a quote for panel and paint. That's different. Absolutely. Upholstery's high now. People don't, are routinely spending 30, 40K on interiors now. Well, routinely might be a bit of an overstatement, but that's not that uncommon. If you want a custom interior, and I want to say custom, I don't mean a different insert in the seats. I mean custom door panels, armrests, custom consoles, custom headliner. Like a custom interior. Yeah, 30, 40K if you want to go, and then if you want leather, well, that's even more. Depending where you go. Mexican speak. Barracuda, you don't live in Mexico. No, I mean, is that just a kind of an urban legend, or is upholstery really cheap to get done down in Mexico? That was seemed to be a thing in the movies. Like those hot rod movies, they carry their cars down to Mexico from California and get custom upholstery done. Is that a true story? Matthew Ward, howdy all. Welcome along, sir. Good to have you here. Michael Pagliarini. Am I even saying that close? I don't know. Most of my friends call me Pags or Mikey P. All right, Pags it is, right? Pags. And Lumpy's in the house. Welcome along. Good to have you here. Mexican speaker, Barry Cooter. On that ram charger seat, the upholsterer charged $35 US to put on a new piece of leather. It looked new. That is part and labour. Wow, $35. Upholsterers where I am will charge you that much just to walk out and have a look at your car, let alone work on it. Good Lord. $35. Wow. Crazy. Mexicans and Chris Freeman said the advantage of living in a country with a lot of good skilled tradespeople. Yeah. It's neighbouring countries, but so different, aren't they? So different. I guess there's still a really tradespeople of value. I met, it seems like that way anyway. Tradespeople are valued in Mexico, and people get into the trades, and yeah. I mean, this is a genuine question. Like I don't really know. Like, is 35 US, is that a lot of money in Mexico? Because it's, like $35 US is more in New Zealand dollars than it is here. $35 American will buy you, $60 New Zealand. So the exchange rates and stuff like that all have an impact, and yeah. So, I mean, do the residents of Mexico, or the people around that upholsterer that you use, like, is it considered cheap to get upholstery done, or do they think $35 is a bit? Jeff Hutchins, I told Mexican Spec on his live that I need to take a trainload of trucks to Mexico for upholstery. Maybe we could get together and charter an entire train. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what's going to happen, though, isn't it? That's what's going to happen. I mean, I've heard of Americans exporting, or not exporting, but sending American cars over to Thailand to get restored. There was talk about that a few years back, and I've not heard about it again. Whether it's still going on, I don't know. But obviously, it's expensive to ship a car overseas. But if you can go from a $100,000 restoration to a $50,000 restoration and get a similar job, and you spend 10 grand in shipping, well, it's still 40 grand a head, aren't you? Tava, I used ordinary Norton contact cement on the ute roof, brush on style. Yeah, that's the key thing. I mean, I think this glue that the Landau top is it is essentially, it's just a contact cement, and it's probably very similar to your Norton, but it's fairly thick and gooey. And you'd need to, if you don't have the right spray gun, you've got to brush it on, and it's fine. It's just more labor intensive brushing it on. It works just as good. It's just quick to apply with a spray gun. I mean, it comes out in big droplets, like raindrop sized droplets a lot of the time, but it gets it on there, So yeah, it's not extra special glue, but I tell you what, once you let it dry the right amount of time, that's the biggest mistake that I've seen people make with contact, is they don't give it long enough to dry. They feel compelled to put the two surfaces together while they're still wet, so the glue can then dry and hold. But that's not how it works. They've got to be dry to the touch. Like, if you touch the product and it strings and it sticks to your hands and comes off, it's too wet and it doesn't stick. It doesn't work. That's not how it works. A lot of people have trouble wrapping their heads around that. But yeah, leave it. Spray it, walk away, and come back in a couple of minutes, depending on the temperature of the day, and then start putting it together. But it can be dry for 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the temperature. Probably not in the middle of summer where you are, Tavo. Not 10 minutes, but you know what I mean. Mexican speak. You shot up the page. Barracuda. Oh, yeah, I was going to answer that question. L&P, yeah, lemon and pyra. That is, yeah, that's, yeah. Well, I was going to say that's the best soda in the world, but I mean, we're all a bit biased, aren't we? It's really good. It's really good. Mexican Speak, I hope you guys will join us on all our lives, Saturday and Sunday evening. Are you doing 2 lives? Are you doing a live Saturday and Sunday? Wow, that's going to keep you busy. Good for you. I will try and drop in, absolutely. What time, Mexican Speak? Andy Nickel, Tortex is a black vinyl used on guitar cases and amplifiers. It has an embossed surface, but it should work. Thanks, Kiwi. Yeah, that should be fine. What's it like out in the elements? Is the question that springs to mind. What's the sun going to do to it over a period of time? And the weather. Like, I mean, I don't imagine too many people leave their guitar cases out in the rain. So yeah, just like I know nothing about the Tortex. So, but what the sun will do to it is like how UV stabilized is it? It's the UV that destroys vinyl. So yeah, I would just tick that box if you can. Yeah. Barracuda, it's hot here today. I would imagine it is. Yeah. Tim Miller, hey, welcome along, mate. Snow Crusher, good evening, sir. Good to have you here. Chris Freemason, Andy Nickel. As long as it's a Tortex and not Torpex, you should be fine. Okay, what's Torpex? Haven't heard of that. Danny Boyd, Tortex. Haven't heard of that German. Oh, mate, I haven't heard of it at all. Barracuda, brown snake, deadly. There you go. Eastern brown snakes, only the second most venomous on the planet. Oh, and you've got them under your house. Wow. Yeah. Just gonna make a quick note here not to visit Tavo. Okay. Yeah. Barracuda rider victim Tavo. Well, yes, I think so. Mexican Speck, snakes are good for controlling rodents. I have spiders in the house to control flying insects. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right there, for sure. But yeah, it's the whole friend or foe thing, isn't it? Like the snakes, if you surprise them, they're going to bite you, no matter how nice you've been to them. No, I don't know that I want the second most deadly snake around my house. Mexican Speck, Tavo, only the second. He's just a young fella. Mexican Speck, he's not, $2,000. That's 2 more than I've got, mate. Andy Nickel, project for tonight is to reattach the neck on a Martin D28, which I removed for repair. Okay. Martin D28 sounds like an aeroplane, but I'm guessing it's a guitar. So just goes to show how little I know about guitar. Sergeant Mustang, I'm in SoCal, Los Angeles. Car is in my underground apartment garage, so that will largely stop new rust. Or does rust progress even from the daily temp changes, morning dew thing? If you can keep it dry, the rust will pretty much grind to a halt. Yeah, it's the dampness. So yeah, in an underground apartment garage, it should be pretty good. But yeah, if you drive it when it rains, it's going to throw water up into all those little cracks and crevices, and it. I mean, the majority of it dries off fairly quick, but it's where the water gets into the little nooks and crannies and sits there for weeks, which it can do. When water gets up in between those seams and little lap joints of sheet metal, stuff like that, it can get in there, get in behind it, and it can take a long time to dry out. That's what accelerates the rust. And if there's salt on it, Southern California, you're not really going to have salt, are you? But getting wet doesn't really hurt them as much as staying wet, is really what I'm trying to say. Snow crusher. Musty One uses a chainsaw chain oil and melted toilet wax sealing rings as an undercoating. Okay. Well, the chainsaw oil is sticky, which is the whole idea of chainsaw oil. So that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Danny Boyd, Andy Nickel. Wow, that's some crafty work on a nice instrument. There you go. I have no idea what that means in the guitar world. Like what that model is. None whatsoever. Joseph Zott, Ford 429 single overhead cam. Weak points. Mate, single overhead cam 420, a sock motor. Mate, I do not know. Honest answer. The biggest weak point I imagine is the astronomical money you have to pay for it. Would be the biggest problem with that engine. I couldn't honestly tell you. It's not. I've seen one. That's it's certainly not laid hands on one. So I'm just not the right guy to ask, unfortunately. They're very coveted motor. They did very well in NASCAR, I believe. Was it NASCAR or was it drag racing? Actually, that's a point, Danny Boyd. Yeah, the sock motor was a 427, not a 429. But that's probably what Joseph means, I imagine. That sock motor was astronomical. Yeah, I mean, very famous motor and astronomically expensive. But I think that's probably more to do with the rarity than the how what a fantastic performer it was or wasn't. I don't honestly know. But the fact they're so scarce is what makes them hellishly expensive. Chris Freeman says Snow Crusher summer formula bar and chain oil. Those New Englanders love the used motor oil undercoatings. Yeah. I mean, if I had if I lived in an area where there was just salt all through winter, then honestly, I'd be doing that used motor oil thing. I really would. I don't. I mean, yeah, it's readily available. Change your oil, spray it under the car. I guess it's not that environmentally friendly with the amount of drip off and runoff that you get from it, but I'm not sure how environmentally friendly putting tons of salt on the road is either, But when it's that icy, I guess you got to do it. Mexican spec. A guy here will do a complete interior for an OBS Chevy truck for about $500 US. I was kind of halfway reading ahead with one eye, and I thought you were going to say $5,000. $500. Wow. So are there any auto upholsterers in San Diego, being that close to Mexico? Like, would anybody go to a $150 an hour auto upholsterer in San Diego instead of going to a $500 job in Mexico? Good Lord. That's insane. Wow. So what's an average weekly wage in Mexico? It's like $500 a week an average weekly wage, or is that twice the average weekly wage. I don't know. Curious. Jeff Hutchins. The weak links, just the Ford parts. Just kidding. Oh dear. Mexican spec, nicely redone bench seat. Oh, excuse me, fellas. It's about 105 US. Wow, that is so cheap. Not just the upholstery, but the seat itself. Wow. Wow. I'll try Chris Free message to ask. Well, I'm sure you asked that a few minutes ago, but here we go. Average hourly wage for someone in Mexico. Mexican spec cost me about 600 US to send a 99 Dodge Ram Charger from our port in Jacksonville, Florida. A smaller car would be less. Wow. So Mexican spec, what are you saying, that you actually sent it from Jacksonville, Florida into Mexico to get some work done on it, or like? Barracuda, no snakes in New Zealand, but we have gear. What's that? Oh, hang on, Barracuda, giant worms. Really? Well, we have gear. Okay, got to cut yourself off there. Barracuda, giant worms. Ugh. I didn't know that. We have giant worms. They just moved in since I left, have they? Don't remember those. Oh, here we go. Mexican spec. Mexican spec. I don't know really. It's hard to say. I heard the manager at the train station was making 7,000 pesos per month. That was a little while ago, though. 7,000 pesos per month. That doesn't seem like very much. What's that in US dollars? I know a peso is not sort of similar money to a dollar. I know that much. There's a lot of pesos in a dollar, isn't there? A US dollar, I mean. Chris Freemeser, well, you do have Dean Stevenson too. Every nation has its burdens to bear. Very true. Barracuda, Dean is a special New Zealander. Yeah, we have a few special ones, for sure, yes. Charles Dalton, working with my brother-in-law, had contact cement for a corner of his vinyl top that had to come loose. I used clamps to stretch the material. He wanted to leave for 30 minutes after attaching. Pretty much once if it's dried correctly, you don't really need to clamp it. Once you push it, you rub it down, pretty hard to get apart. I mean, it's not going to hurt to leave it clamped for 30 minutes, but I don't really think it would be necessary. But I guess that's what you're saying too, Charles. Tavo. Just been Googling it. King Cobra falls outside the top 10 for venom toxicity, but injects a lot of it, so it ranks higher in fatality. Okay. Don't like snakes. I do not like snakes. Jeff Hutchins, I think I could go back in time. If I could go back in time 20 years, New Zealand would have been my second favourite place to live. I can't handle the gun laws now. Yeah, well, way too many of the gang members have got guns, and the rest of the country does not. Which, yeah, doesn't always work out so well. Chris Freeman said Torpex is an explosive extensively used during World War II in bombs and torpedoes. Okay. Yeah, a couple of letters makes all the difference, doesn't it? Tavo, the plus side of Eastern Browns is they're very timid, only attack and defence. Right. That's what I was saying. If you surprise them, that's the difficult thing. Yeah, if you just they're somewhere they're maybe not meant to be, or you're somewhere maybe you're not typically, and you surprise them, they will defend themselves. Yeesh. David Tyree, yeah, the firearm always sucks. They're pretty strict. Pretty strict. Jeff Hutchins, King Cobras are scary because they can get so big when they raise up and put their hood out, they're in your face. Yeah, that'd freak me out. I'm not freak me out. I don't think it would need to bite me at that point. I think I'd probably I would have, if one came up as high as me and looked me in the face, I think I'd just be like, I'd be out, I'd be done. It'd be like things would just stop working and I'd drop, I think. No, that'd be too much for me. Tavo, saw a 6-footer about a month ago. Wow. Sunning itself by the tin fence. I scared it much more than it scared me. Ooh, I think I'd have been more scared than the snake. Like, oh, no. I'm fine with spiders and shit like that, and bugs, it doesn't bother me, but snakes, oh no, they move too fast and they get, yeah, it's so unpredictable. It's like, yeah, no. Chavo, Jeff Hutchins, I'd certainly rather come face to face with our little guys than a cobra. Yeah, no, not. I don't really. Yeah, I'm not prejudiced. Like any snake, I don't like any snakes. There's not the one that's worse than the other. They're all just like Danny Ward, Martin's a particularly nice acoustic guitar. Steve Howe uses them. Okay. Where are we here? Paul Funk went for a short hike today and spotted my first fly, and it's February. Eesh. Very cooler, Jeff. Our latest government are much more friendly to gun owners. Okay, have made it easier to get a license. You can have a semi-auto 22s pump action shotguns. I think semi-auto 22s. Huh. Interesting stuff. Didn't know. Wasn't aware of that, Barry. Jeff Hutchins. If you Sergeant Mustang, if you had an underground garage where I live, it would be a well. Joseph Sott. MG, they couldn't pay me enough to drive one. I had one years ago. I was probably 18 or something. I had a little MGB Roadster, a 67, I think it was. Yeah, rusty little shit box it was. It was a bit of fun though. Had some fun in it. The girls quite like the cars, but there's nowhere near enough room in them to sort of take advantage of this situation, shall we say? Mexican speak. Joseph thought the MGs sold here are garbage. Yeah. Any of the late model MGs are absolute garbage. When I say late model, anything kind of later than the 70s, they were just horrible. Jeff Hutchins, New Zealand used to have really reasonable gun laws, well, by non-US standards. Not sure exactly where they are now, but not suitable for me. Fair enough. Tell you what, I believe with New Zealand with having the strict gun laws is that petty crime was rife. geez, we're talking 20 years ago now. So it's not, these comments are not meant to represent today in New Zealand. But 20 years ago, like, petty crime was rife. If you left your car open, somebody was going in there. If you left something in the back of your truck and went to the grocery store, it wasn't going to be there when you came out. Because people would just help themselves because they knew they weren't going to get a gun. They just grab it and run, grab it and walk. They weren't going to get a gun pointed at them. And home burglaries were rife. Like just about, I shouldn't say just about a huge amount of homes had burglar alarm system. Very, very high percentage of homes had burglar alarms because getting burgled was something that had happened to, most people more than once. Because, if you break into a house and there happens to be someone in there, you're not going to get a gun pointed at you. You're not going to get shot. Because even if they have a gun in the house, if they're one of the few licensed gun owners, the gun's locked away, the ammo's locked in a different location. You can't keep, a gun in your bedside drawer. That's not a thing. So you break into a house, someone says, "Who the hell's that?" You just scarper and get the hell out of it. No one's going to shoot you as you're running out the door. So petty crime was high. Now, it's going down rather well tonight, that bourbon. To pace myself. Danny Boyd, Mexican Speak, do they break down? Yes. That's what Mexicans, but yes, and no parts to fix them. No, they're not good cars, no. Barracuda, not allowed military-style rifles, can have bolt-action high-caliber rifles, and as always, no handguns, except for firing range use special license. Yeah. Danny Boyd, what breaks on them? Most stuff. They're just cheap, shitty. There's just nothing good about them, mate. Honestly. Lost my spot again. Mexican Specs disappearing. Mexican Spec, $407 for 7,000 pesos. So he was making $407 a month. Wow. $100 a week, round figures. Wow. That sucks. Well, I guess, it only costs $35 to get your car seat fixed. I guess that $400 goes a fairly long way. Different world, huh? Different world. Now, here we go. Dr. Diabetes. Dr. Diabetes, 3,061. Hey, Kiwi, love the work on the Alpine. The latest upload was awesome. I think she'll be done around episode 30. Oh, man. I don't know. I think it's going to go higher than that. There's a lot to do. And it's not just body work, there's so many parts to building a car that's from the ground up as much as that is. Wiring, plumbing, brakes, upholstery, interior, windows, electric windows, maybe. So many components to make up a car that you're not just, this is not really a restoration. The Alpine is not really a restoration. It's a build. Unbolted and taken a lot of stuff out of it, but very, very little of it's going back. And so pretty much everything. Like where we're going to put a battery. There's an episode making up a battery tray, figuring out where to put it, running the cables to it. It's not like, if it's a Mustang, you order a new battery tray from CJ Pony Parts or somewhere like that, and you bolt the battery tray in, put the battery in, away you go. It's nothing to it. I can't even know where I'm going to put the battery. We're going to put it in the trunk. Are we going to find a spot in the slightly bigger engine bay now? Like who knows? I don't know. But yeah, episode 30. Okay, we'll see. Somebody else said 45. They thought it would be 40, 45. So yeah, I guess time will tell. I watched an English guy building an old Ford Prefect, and he was putting that on a Miata body or a Miata floor pan, which is kind of part of where I got, like that's what kind of inspired me to try and do that with the Alpine, but it just didn't work. So yeah, but he was, I think the last episode I saw of that, he was up to like episode 90. Yeah. But to be fair, he was doing videos most days. So, he was, a lot of fairly short videos. So yeah, we'll see. But hey, I'm glad you're enjoying the Alpine. So yeah, thanks for watching. Mexican speak. Danny Boyd, they stopped running. The screens can't handle the heat. So many things are wrong with them. Yeah. Mexican Spec sold the Ram Charger and the buyer will pick it up. Okay, so you were sending it to Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. Mexican Spec. The Mexican mechanics can't understand the Chinese text trying to speak English. It's a crap show. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, that's a whole other dynamic, isn't it? So Mexicans trying to understand English from a Chinese tech who's struggling with English anyway. Wow, yeah, that's going to be difficult. Thunder Falcon 289. Hello, what a great name. Thunder Falcon 289. Hello, Kiwi. I have a Dodge Ram truck for sale in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a short bed slant 6. I'm hoping Uncle Tony will buy it. Well, if it's a nice truck, he probably won't. If it's a piece of shit, then he could well be interested. That's the Tony I know anyway. He does love a slant 6. You never know, mate. You never know. It just depends how the mood takes him. I don't know. Is he still on a? Is he still on a Jeep? What were they? Jeep YJs or something like that? He had 5 of them at one point there. Is he still, still addicted to Jeeps at the moment, or has he kind of crossed that bridge? Andy Nickel, we have giant worms in Canada, but they're mostly in government. No, yeah. Thunder Falcon, 87 Dodge Ram truck, slant 6, runs excellent. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah, if he was gonna buy a truck, that would probably be the one he would buy. Yeah, if he's looking for one. Because he ain't going to buy an 87 Chevy truck, and he's certainly not going to buy an 87 Ford truck, or a Toyota, or So, yeah, who knows? Good luck. Barracuda. When I was a kid back in the 1900s, I dug up 2 big worms from a compost heap, thick as a thumb, and up to 4.5 feet long. Good Lord. Really? 4.5 feet. Wow. You sure it wasn't a snake? Someone told you it was a worm and it was really a snake? Did it hiss? Dr. Diabetes, question. I have an 06 350Z. 06. Well, that's about 30 years too young for me, but I'll keep reading. While doing a clutch job, I noticed various underbody panels with vein-like rust lines under the paint. What would cause that type of rust pattern? Yeah, that was there. The roots of that started before it was painted. Rust doesn't typically creep like that. It's usually, in my experience anyway, that's usually some underlying issues with the metal before it was even painted or prepped and painted. And it's just rearing its head now. Clean metal that is well sealed, with a good primer and paint, that doesn't happen, in my experience. So yeah, that rust, in my opinion, that rust was there, but when the car was made, and it's just showing itself now. Snow Crusher, land of the brown snakes was the latrine area when we went bush camping. Yeah, I'm not dropping my trowel around brown snakes. Thanks very much. Barracuda, those aren't worms, they're graboids. We'll see who knows what I'm talking about. Graboids. No, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. So I'm out. Tavo, I'd rather the brown snakes weren't here, but have to accept that they're part of the landscape and deal with it, learn to coexist. Fair enough. I guess if you're just smart about it and think about it and don't go sticking your hand in places, well, I mean, that's a good life kind of thing to live by, really, isn't it? Go sticking your hand in places that shouldn't be. Surprise people or things. Yeah. Barracuda, I often see this big trouser snake. Wow, shouldn't be peeping through places you shouldn't be peeping, mate. Like, really? Dr. Diabetes, Graboids, Tremors reference. Ah, okay. I remember that. They made a few of those movies. I remember the first one. I only saw the first one. Not the greatest piece of cinematic history, really, but a bit of light-hearted fun. Mopar Man. Now they have to deal with all the Muslims on top of the tyrannical anti-gun goons in Australia and New Zealand. Yeah, well, let's not get too political. But yeah, there's I actually know a couple of Muslims, and they're okay. It's just another religion, as long as you don't get radical with it. Yeah, it's the radicals that everyone thinks, that every Muslim is a radical, and they're not. They're just not. But it's the radicals that make the news, so that's what we get shown, and we get fed what the media want to feed us. So yeah, there's good Muslims out there, and there's bad ones. There's good Catholics, and there's some bad Catholics, and all the other religions as well. I'm not singling out those two. Don't miss the list. It's a long list of different religions, and there's good and bad in all of them. Barracuda, Kevin Bacon movie. Yep, that's the one. It shot up the page. I wish it wouldn't do that. Chris Freemasser, between the brown snakes, giant worms, and rampant petty crime, you're really not making much of a case for folks visiting Down Under. What can I tell you? Well, yeah, I mean, there's no brown snakes in New Zealand, but apparently we've got giant worms. So who knew? But no, great place to visit. Absolutely, yeah. If you can ever make it down there, yeah, fantastic place for a holiday. Absolutely. And a pretty great place to live, but everywhere has its political bullshit and drama and unhappiness and unrest. Like, it's just a worldwide thing, isn't it? It's just slightly different from country to country, but yeah. Jeff Hutchins, spiders, bugs, etc. don't get above annoying me, but I hate all snakes. I'm with you, mate. We're in the same. We're sharing some part of the DNA there, because I'm with you 100%. Barracuda. It's a lot different in the South Island. Okay. I haven't lived in the South Island, and it's been 20 years anyway. So yeah, I have to yeah go along with Barracuda on that one. I know when I visited the South Island, it's a slower kind of pace of life, um, and they're pretty friendly. They're just you get into Wellington and Auckland, the big cities, and it's that whole rat race thing of the big cities. And people are busy, they're in a hurry, and they don't have a lot of time for you, or as much. Like you go down the South Island, it's just a little bit slower pace of life. People are a little bit more, have got a bit more time to say hi, So yeah, it's got a lot going for it, the South Island, from what I've seen visiting. I always remember years and years ago, decades ago, we went down to Invercargill, which is down the bottom of the South Island. And we were down there for a rally, and we were running a Subaru, or Subaru as we called them. And so we were getting helped out by a couple of the guys at the Subaru dealership down there, and we were kind of working late trying to get some little things, ready for the next day. And they were all ready to go home. They just handed me the keys, said here, and I just met them that day. And they said, here's the keys, and just lock it up and give them to Bob the next day. One of the mechanics was helping us on the pit crew kind of thing, and they said, just give them the keys back to Bob, tomorrow, and we'll be good. And I said, oh wow, that's awesome. And what about the alarm system? And they said, we don't have an alarm system. It's like, wow. Very different to kind of big city New Zealand. But they were great guys. We did get into a little bit of trouble at the after event celebration. So yeah, it was all good. Charles told him, "Yep, I'm on Earth for two reasons: to fix broken things and kill snakes." Mate, I've never gotten close enough to a snake to kill it. I'm heading. When I see a snake, I'm heading the opposite direction. Absolutely, the opposite direction. Driveway of misfits. So the riffraff is up on the North Island and the South Island is like Xanadu. That's it, mate. Well, if you listen to any mainlander, that's what the Barracuda is kind of known as, is a mainlander. That's what they call the South Island, or that's what the North Islanders call the South Islanders, mainlanders. I mean, even in a little country like New Zealand, we have that north south. Different reasons, to some degree, but yeah, it's there's rivalries between parts of the country, isn't there? Chris Freeman, will keep that in mind if when the time comes to actually travel somewhere. Yeah. Oh, mate, there's a lot to see in both islands, and you'll have a blast. New Zealand is very welcoming to tourists. We're used to a lot of tourists. So yeah, and typically, it'd be unusual for you not to have a great experience there. Michael Pag. Oh, hang on, Pags. I had a chance to get an Alpine Tiger that ran in the Great Race, but my wife liked the Mustang better. Yeah, yeah, that Tiger would be worth some money. Tavo, got a dash, guys. Riders here. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for dropping in, Tavo. All the best, mate. Hope your appointment goes well. And yeah, see you next Tuesday. There's an acronym for that, isn't there? Not meaning that's Tavo, but yeah, see you next Tuesday. Just thought of that. Very Cooter. So, it's Chris Freeman. So, would you describe the North Island as more urban and the South Island more rural? Yeah, that's fair. A little simplistic, but yeah, essentially, yeah. Um, yeah, there's certainly a lot more, a lot larger percentage of the population in the North Island. So obviously, a lot more people, a lot more houses, a lot more suburbia. Jeff Hutchins, Tony's into minivans now. Minivans, really? Or like those little miniature those little teeny tiny Japanese minivans, or like, um, like the what's the Chrysler minivan they have? Caravan, like a Dodge Caravan, that type of minivan, or those little teeny tiny ones that they're importing from Japan. David Tyree, try South Gippsland. Worms up to 3 meters long. Yeah, that would be creepy. Very cooler. Yes, those worms were as I described. I could hardly believe it myself. Never seen any more like that. Yeah, that's bizarre. I've never heard of that in New Zealand. But I mean, I don't disbelieve you, mate. I just haven't struck it or even heard of it before. It's wild. Jeff Hutchins, Barracuda, did the rocks around where those worms would glow in the dark? I mean, like glowworms? Yeah, glowworms are tiny. No, Jeff. Yeah, okay. Barracuda, no, Jeff, no. Jeff Hutchins, there's no good Frenchman. No, kidding again. The French actually helped us Americans out a lot in our early days. Yeah. Barfly, avoid State of the Union address. Well, yes, you're going to have much more fun here, mate. Much more fun. Good to have you here. Chris Freemesser. Hey, dude. Pork chops tonight. Barfly. Orange chicken. Nice. Frozen from someone else's scratch. Barfly. Chiropractor destroyed me a bit. Don't feel like cooking. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Now, Barracuda, lots of rural in the North Island too. Christchurch City in the south definitely has its crime, and other cities have more crime than they used to. I still live rural, story, and they have a lock on my door. Oh, wow. You don't have a lock on your door. Wow, that's crazy. David Tyree, Nelson's pretty good. I sometimes leave my back door and windows open at night. Yeah, Nelson's a nice spot. That's lovely. Snow Crusher, only started to remove the keys from my vehicles about 10 years ago. Still really lock the house unless leaving for the day. Wow. That's nice. That's nice. Tanny Boyd, leave nothing unlocked ever. Yep. Driveway of Misfits. Tony bought a Chrysler Town and Country to haul his dogs around. Now he loves the thing. Oh God, a Chrysler Town and Country. Eesh. Oh well. Vilefly reminds me when our car pen at work got damaged and wouldn't close. So I set up 12 gauge trip flares and wilderness camp. 7 days of amusement until we got it fixed. Bloody hyenas. 12 gauge trip flares. Wow. You're obviously clearly a man not to be messed with. Charles Dalton, he's checking out. Well, glad you could join us, mate. Good to have had you here, and yeah, see you next week. Paul Funk, being from Colorado, if I'm ever lucky enough to travel to New Zealand, which is on my bucket list, I would still be on the lookout for snakes. Yeah, I guess it just becomes natural, doesn't it? But yeah, you'll be struggling to find a snake in New Zealand unless you're at a zoo. Barracuda, Chris here. Have you seen Kiwi? And you still ask if the North Island has riffraff. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I am. Yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of riffraff. We have a bit of fun. Yeah. And we'll have you back when you need it, you know. Barracuda had riffraff, I stand corrected. Richard Stanbury, are the low back seats in the first gen Barracudas more dangerous in a rear end collision than a high back seat? Short answer, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Having that high back is definitely better on your back and neck and head. Um, that's why they put high back seat, big high back seats in race cars because yeah, you need that support. And they're also pretty darn good in a rollover too. If you have a rollover accident, those low back seats can be pretty brutal on you as well. Volfly on the trip flare. Oh, the trip flares were just a bit of harmless fun. I could have used pepper charges, but I went for Dragon's Breath in a loud sky. How many people did you scare the shit out of? That's what I want to know. Jeff Hutchins, Chernobyl glowworm. Oh, okay. A little bit of radiation, make them grow a bit more and glow. Barracuda, not even one snake in New Zealand. Maybe in a zoo. That's about it. Snow Crusher, Riff Raff, the butler from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's right. Volfly, Jeff Hutchins wants to know, Volfly, you still have those videos? They would be pretty funny, I imagine. Hey, look at me. I've caught up with the comments. How about that? It's taken an hour and a half. Wow. Yeah, that's unusual. No time for a bourbon on the street from that. What's everyone drinking tonight? I'm drinking Blade and Bow bourbon. It's quite nice. Quite nice. So, Barracuda accepted the zoos, yeah. Volfly, 7 different people that I call hyenas. Okay, I figured that's what you mean. Tavo, so it's kind of still here. Tavo, what are you doing, man? What happened to your ride? Did they see a brown snake and run for the hills, leave you behind? Paul Funk, it's just my nature to constantly scan the ground for rattlesnakes. I even do it in the winter when I know they're in hibernation. Yeah, well, better safe than sorry, eh? Barracuda, if you get into the sea, there's plenty of shark. Well, yeah. Snow Crusher, dark rum and ginger. Okay, that's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. So is it like already spiced rum? The dark being dark, a lot of dark rum's spiced, isn't it? So then you add ginger to that. That'd be an interesting combination. Jeff Hutchins, Richard Stanbury, always an advantage in an accident to have a headrest. Yeah, Let's just say rollovers as well as rear ends, and even frontals because you go forward and then you tend to come back, and it's the back that gets you. Beagle Bob, Chattanooga whiskey car strength for me tonight. Only 111 proof. Ooh, wow. Okay. Tavo, only one of 2 comments shown. Okay, being told I'm allowed on YouTube on the ride. There you go. There's a man on the move. Hey, that's dedication for you. On the live with Kiwi and the boys on his way to the docks. Didn't want to miss out. Good on you, mate. Well done. Volfly, rum and ginger. Interesting. That's what I thought. Oh, Snow Crusher, just dark navy rum. Well, navy rum's fairly serious. Not about just, but yeah, it's pretty potent stuff. Richard Stanbury, do you think that high-back single seats would fit easily in the rear seat area of a first-gen Barracuda? Oh, replace the back seats with a couple of high backs. Hey, that's an interesting question. Would they fit in the back of a Barracuda? I'm going to say probably. The roof doesn't drop off quickly at the back of the fastback Barracuda. You know, the Barracudas were fastback. But the front of the back window is still fairly high. Like in a Mustang, like a 69, 70 Mustang, the headroom in the back of those things is not great. Because they've got such a long sloping back on them. But on a Barracuda, there'd definitely be more headroom for the rear seat. So you could, I'm not sure how high of a back seat, but certainly higher than, the factory back seat. That was very small in those things because they had them all set up to fold down and all that kind of way. If you've got one, you know that. But yeah, you could do. I mean, it's not unusual in custom interiors to have like 4 bucket seats in the car. It's not unusual. So yeah, that could, done right, that could look pretty good. Volflow, rum and ginger might work well in a cake too. I see where you're going with that one, Volflow. Yeah, that sounds actually not bad at all. Tavo, I can send you over some browns. Release them to breed. No, we don't need you doing that, Tavo. Don't need you doing that. But if they like it in the heat where you are, they're not going to. So you can send them to South Island. I don't think they'd survive. They'd be hibernating 12 months of the year. See what Barry has to say about that. Poor fuck, cheap beer as always. There you go. Pags, milk, just made 10 years sober. Good for you, man. 10 years. Well, I think you can probably say you've kicked the habit at this point. As much as you're ever going to, good for you, man. 10 years is awesome. Firefly in movies, characters that drink milk are usually the villains. Also, they have a pinky ring. Tavo, backseat floor is higher than the front. Okay. It's a little unusual, yeah. Huh. Chris Freemasser, Barracuda, if Tavo sends you some brown snakes, let me know and I'll send you some mongooses. We'll see which invasive species overruns the country. We've got enough invasive species very much. We have a massive trouble with koi or giant goldfish in New Zealand. That's a real problem in our waterways. So yeah, we've got a few, more than a few, and we've got weasels and stoats, and they playing havoc with the Kiwi population. Yeah, we've got plenty of invasive species. Jeff Hutchins, Volvo, and a white fluffy cat. I forgot the freaking cat. Oh, you guys crack me up. Snow Crusher going to put leather PT Cruiser seats in my 46 Ford two-door. Not a bad idea. Headrest may be optional. There you go. Granddad's junk. Hey, welcome along, man. Welcome along. Good to have you here. Now, Pags, $1 million more. Very good. Granddad's junk. Hey, Tony, been talking about the South Island a bit tonight. Yeah, we have. You're getting a North Islander's view of the South Island and a mainlander's view of the South Island. And slightly different perspectives, but as you'd expect, Barracuda, I've got Jazz Pro Stock High Back plastic buckets in my VH Valiant for neck protection and because they look so good and very comfortable for my back. Jazz Pro Stock. Jazz, is that the same Jazz that make the fuel containers? Jazz jugs? I'm wondering. Andy Nickel, 10 years is great. I'm at 35 and counting. Keep it up. Yeah, I agree. 35 for you, Andy. Wow. Tava, I guess if the buckets were mounted direct to the rear floor minus the sliders. Yeah, well, you don't need sliders on rear seats. They might be low enough. Yeah, it all depends on how high the bucket seats are. Some bucket seats are barely kind of shoulder height. Yeah. So, but okay. So I've got to ask the question: why the interest in high back bucket seats in the back of a Barracuda? You worried about safety for kids in the back, or like where's the inquiry coming from? But Mongees, Barracuda. Granddad's junk. Call the mainland. Anywhere north of Nelson is nowhere. Spoken like a true mainlander, Granddad. Andy Nickel, building guitars kept me off the booze. There you go, mate. Whatever works for you, whatever works. So, yeah, I think having a focus. Yeah, having a focus. Probably you could have been building whatever it was, but yeah, just keep him busy. I imagine is a big thing. Andy McNichol, one addiction for another. Yeah, but yeah, one doing guitars is going to make you money. Doing alcohol is going to destroy you. So yeah, not really a direct comparison. Not really one addiction for another. Paul Funk, the Colorado River is now infested with zebra mussels. They affect all the native species. Probably, yeah. I wasn't aware of that. What is a zebra mussel exactly? Barracuda, the authorities insisted on me using sliders, also insisted on them being from a Valiant. Huh. That's an interesting one. When I took the Mustang back over, like that didn't have Mustang sliders. I had to reinforce the mounting points with these, pre-specified size plates, which was a pain in the ass. But yeah, that was. I mean, the sliders were already there, so that having to have them may have been a thing that I just wasn't aware of. But no, they didn't. They never of all the things they made me do, they didn't. They never said it had to be from a Mustang. Interesting. Pags, thanks. It made me a better person. Yeah, alcohol doesn't usually make you a better. It's the other way around more often than not, isn't it? Volfly or freshwater starfish. Is that what the zebra mussels are? Huh. Tavo. Okay, this time for real. Stepping out into the clinic. Take care, everyone. Good luck, buddy. All the best, man. Chris Freemesser, we have zebra mussels here in the Great Lakes, invasive species from China, causing lots of problems. Yeah, well, the koi carp, I believe that giant goldfish, are from China as well. Mm. And yeah, they cause a lot of problems. The koi carp in New Zealand cause a lot of problems. As a species, very successful, very resilient, very hardy. Rapid growers. Yeah, they do very well in just about anywhere. Volfly sounds like it was not an accident. These mussels. No, well, there's people that kind of get a kick out of doing that sort of shit, and I don't get it. I don't understand why, but yeah, a lot of people have. It's happened a lot where they've deliberately people introduce species, and I don't know. They seem to just do it for shits and giggles, and I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Granddad's junk. I'm sitting in front of the fan cooling off. Getting warm there, bud. I bet it is. Zebra mussels are clams or barnacles. Can't remember. Oh, well, okay. Andy Nickel, no, but I did become obsessed with building guitars. I used to work at it for hours without eating or calling the girlfriend, which didn't go over well. No, they get a bit funny like that. Mrs. K gets a bit like that as well. But yeah, it happens. Snow Crusher. Cop cars went to bucket seats when women were allowed into the force due to male police partners had to ride around with their knees up around their ears when the women drove. Granddad's joke. The Sunbeam is going to be real cool, brother. Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm certainly hoping so. Massive amount of work, but yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool and a real one of a kind. Yeah. So, and subtle enough to not look like a wild custom, but hopefully it's a bit like my Mustang, the KSB, in that looks relatively stock till you start paying attention, and then you see all the stuff that's done to it. So that's kind of the design blueprint, I guess you could say. So I want it to be definitely recognisable as a Sunbeam, but then people go, but it's different. Why is it different? And if I can confuse them for a little while, then that's my goal. But there's one goes to the Cars and Coffee, and here in Franklin pretty regularly. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing my best to get a park right when it's all done. So it's gonna be a little while yet, but yeah, when it's all done, is trying to go to Cars and Coffee and get in a park beside his one, and that'll be a good comparison. And not that I'm trying to make his one, don't want to sound like I'm trying to make his one look bad, but I want to, say to confuse people. But that's kind of what I like, like that Mustang I built for the old man. I put, 65 Mustang, and I put the 67 8 Mustang blinker hood inserts into the 65 hood, which I've never seen anyone else ever do. And that's just funny watching even the Mustang guys, like they'll walk by it and they go, oh, you can see that's a nice Mustang. And then they spot the hood and they're like, hang on, I thought this was a 65. And then they look back at the rest of the car and they look at the hood and they look at the rest of the car. And you see the confusion and it's like, so that's, yeah, that's the kind of shit I like to do. Andy Nickel, most people won't notice the extra length. It'll be interesting. I think when it's not beside another one, I don't think they will. I think you're probably right. But I think when you park it next to a stock one, it's going to be like, wow. Um, I guess we'll see. That'll be a video as well. That'll be part 86. Uh, um, Paul Funk, it's a really weird looking creature that will attach itself to watercraft and multiply like crazy. Yeah. Remember when I was jet ski racing in New Zealand, they were having trouble with various things in the waterways, and we went down to Lake Taupo to race, and there was actually government official. I can't remember what department they were from, but they were making us wash the holes of the skis before we were allowed to launch them. Yeah, because they would stick to the holes, inside the wherever they could get really. Yeah, but I'm not sure whether it was that for that particular thing or it was something else at the time. I don't honestly remember. But they were getting very hot about boats, watercraft, jet skis, hopping from river to river to lake to river to and spreading these unwelcome visitors. Jeff Hutchins, Snow Crusher, why would you let the women drive, silly Canadians? Oh dear. Yeah. Easy to be brave behind a computer screen, isn't it, mate? Barracuda, yes, Kiwi, it's that same jazz brand. Okay, the seat was first designed by Steve McQueen for racing in Baja, and he manufactured them at his solar plastics factory in California, late 60s. Oh, wow. There you go, learn something every day. Paul Funk, all the state parks have inspection stations to inspect your watercraft when you leave a lake. Okay. Huh. Barracuda. Later, other manufacturers have produced McQueen's seat design. Wow. So is that like a full-on high back, like up to here and shoulder, type racing seat, or just what exactly? Oh, look at that, 8:54. Yeah, I'm getting good at this bourbon stuff. I'm kind of just paced myself just nicely. So I got 6 minutes to finish this off. I think I can do it. Andy Nickel, there's a kid, Fanatic Builds, on YouTube that's building a Triumph with his dad. That is similar to what you're doing. It's quite amazing what they're doing. Fanatic Builds. Okay. It's amazing what's going on out there, isn't it? And YouTube has made the world just that bit smaller again, isn't it? Um, Andy, when you say a kid, what old is he, like 30? What's your idea of a kid? A teenager or a 30-year-old? Uh, Vilefly. It would have been just fine with the OEM computer system. What are you talking about, Vilefly? Did I miss something? What would have been perfectly fine? Barracuda, yes, meant to take harness belts. Okay. I just use a lap sash belt. Yeah, cool. So for some reason, I feel like that seat's like that's a seat with very little padding, right? Snow Crusher. My kid is 41 now. Wow, showing your age, mate. You're showing your age. Uh, well, unless you started when you were 16, but I guess that's possible. We've heard about you Canadians. Firefly YT is eating my posts. Okay. I've got it on live chat too, so I should be seeing everything that's coming up, but no. Andy Nickel, I'm going to have a quick look for Fanatic bills when I get off here tonight before I forget. Um, wow, imagine having a 41-year-old kid. That's wow. That's crazy. Jeff Hutchins, Wildfly, I've had that problem lately too. Wonder why that is. It's not me deleting them, I promise. Hmm. Still got 31 people in the room. It's awesome. Right, fellas. Well, Andy Nickel, LOL, yeah, like 25 maybe. The dad is an engineer, I think, and they're totally redesigning the steering, bigger motor. I think you'll like it. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out. Are they American based, English based? I guess I'll find out when I look it up. Chris Freeman says something's going on with YouTube lately regarding chat posts. Barracuda, Kiwi, do you like Steve McQueen's fastback and bullet? Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a stock 390 GT fastback, so yeah. I mean, what's not to like, you know? Now, do I like the Eleanor? Not so much. But Steve McQueen's one, yeah, absolutely. Snow Crusher, yes, it makes me feel as old as I am, yeah. Yeah, well, in my head, I'm still 30 odd, so, you know. But I try and get out of bed in the morning. It's the body's going, really? 30? In your dreams. Yeah. Waffle, I have to put the leeches on him for that. Oh, I'm pretty sure we're missing some of Wildfly's posts. Or I am, anyway. Andy Nickel, I think Canadian, but it could be wrong. Okay. Wildfly Trump is hogging the bandwidth. I blame him. Well, at least you're not blaming Kev. Hey, anyone noticed Kev? I'm pointing with the wrong. Where are we at here? Has anyone noticed Kev over here? Yeah, that's impossible to do. Just behind my shoulder. He's just lurking on the couch there. Yeah, we got Mars 67. Hello from the Coromandel in New Zealand. Hello. Good to have you here. Beagle Bob, he looks darker. He's been sitting in the sun in the window there, and he's got a bit more of a tan than usual. That's why. Barracuda, even McQueen's Mustang was lightly customised, the wheels and the D-badge. Yeah, that's true. That's true, but it wasn't like Eleanor. Yeah, Eleanor was just a bit much for my taste. And obviously, a huge amount of people love them because they just keep building more and more of them. But, yeah, just not my cup of tea. Beagle Bob, soot from a recent fiery destruction of something you value. Could well be, yes. Yes, he's a bit of a pyromaniac. Barracuda, the Mustang and Bullet or the Charger? Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. Don't know. That's a really tough call, actually. Don't know. I'd have to say both. I want both of them. Jamie Marshall, hi. Well, welcome along, Jamie, but you've come in at like 1 minute past the shut-off time, so sorry, man. I'm just getting ready to sign off. Jeff Hutchins, my oldest, is 25, just bought his first house with over 5 acres and 3-bay shop, moving his diesel mechanic business to his home. Nice, good for him. Well done. Snow Crusher, the Charger, lost 6 hubcaps. Wildfly, wow. Wish I had that kind of head start. Yeah. Barracuda, I don't like Eleanor's, however that's spelled, Eleanor. Close enough, mate. Close enough. Driveway of Misfits. Kev's over on the Shays tinkling and none of us noticed. Shame on us. There you go. Yeah. Jeff Hutchins, Barracuda, 68 Charger for sure. Bad guys, cars rules. There you go. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. And again, thanks for all your input. Thanks for joining in and all your comments and for being here. And yeah, I will. I'm going to keep working tomorrow and the rest of the week, and I'll be back here next Tuesday. Same time, same place. All right, fellas. Yeah. Thanks again. Have a good one and take care. See you guys.